I hope everybody out there is staying cooler than I am because, without the fans on, it's sweltering here where I'm recording. But I was that excited about the Fantasy Flight organized play announcements from their recent video that I wanted to break it down and talk about it. And that's what we're going to do now. There's, of course, going to be a bunch of speculation on my part as to what we're going to see because some of the details were vague and we're not that far out from actually having true organized play. So let's get into it. So the first point of note is actually about Season 0 and the point system. So let's hear what they have to say.
People are coming together. We've decided for Season 0 to not utilize the point system. Point system will start with Season 1, and really the reason behind that is because we wanted to focus on these events being fun. People are going to be learning and experiencing tournaments for the first time, so we really wanted to, have the focus be on fun, getting really, really cool prizes, and just having the bragging rights of being that winner instead of adding that pressure right away of having to generate points to qualify for those specific events.
So notably, and this is where some of the speculation comes in, and people in the comments, I'm sure, will correct me because maybe I missed something in another announcement, because one thing I will say is I wish that they would have a transcript or notes on the website already, and I did look at the time of this recording. I'm sure they'll make a liar out of me, but it's not there. At least not right now. I don't personally understand the whole pressure thing. I mean, I kind of do. So in other games that I played where there have been point systems for qualifications, including for Worlds, yes, there is a level of grind because I got to hit my threshold, 1,000 points, 500 points, 2 million points, whatever it happens to be. And there is a level of, I got to do it, and that does put pressure on people. But I think as compared to alternatives, it at the end of the day, it's really not that big a deal. I think most people are honest with themselves about their chances. So if you think or you want to qualify for Galactic Championship, whatever, Worlds, whatever it happens to be, you have a pretty good idea usually, and of course there are always outliers, of what the level of effort's going to be involved and what the requirements are. And in fact, with a point system, you can map it out in advance and just be like, hey, this season, I just have real life stuff going on. I can't make it to enough events that I'm just not going to be capable of doing it. Or I need to win this one because it's the only event this season where I have the time to make it. The tinfoil hat part of me says they don't have the point system ready, but I kind of doubt that. I feel like there might be refinements before they officially announce it, but the reality is that behavior will change no matter what when points are introduced. So I think it would be a little silly to say, oh, they don't have it, because whatever they decide is, they can't necessarily gather enough information out of whatever this Season 0 is going to look like that's going to materially change what they're doing. And of course, they could always adjust it later as they indicate for other things later on. Now, all that being said, whatever, it's fine. We find out, spoiler alert, that the Galactic Championship is going to be an open format anyway. So if you want to go, you just kind of win the lottery ticket thing to be able to sign up. Hey, real quick, jumping in as I'm editing, a couple things that I forgot to note, and as you can tell, it's too hot. I'm turning everything off. I got to try and cool it down somehow. They didn't note what these quote-unquote super cool prizes are. I certainly hope they are worth traveling and just attending for. That's a big component in other games where the participation prize justifies the cost of the trip, because you get a super cool promo that you can turn around and flip and then try and recoup the cost for the hotel, the travel, and all that fun stuff. Look, some people really hate talking about the money aspect of card games, but they are very expensive, especially if you travel. I think everybody can recognize that. So there needs to be some sort of justification beyond, hey, if I win the event, I'll break even. Woo, like that's not good enough. So we need details about that. Notably, we didn't really get any information also about how many we're talking about. Okay, we get the qualifier information later on, but we don't know how long the qualifier seasons last and therefore how many Galactic Championships we're actually talking about. Jumping ahead a bit, we're going to talk about Season 0.
Yeah.
And so specifically, I want to make sure that this is very clear for everybody, that Season 0 runs up through our very first Galactic Championship, and Season 1 will be beginning immediately after that.
Yep, exactly. Yep, great clarification point. So yeah, again, we're using Season 0 to really learn and grow with our communities, and we really want to hear your feedback throughout Season 0 and obviously beyond Season 0 to build a really strong organized play program together.
So the big thing for me here is that it obviously defines what's going to happen up to and including that first Galactic Championship. Season 0, again, no points. And we're going to have, I guess, a slightly modified structure compared to what we're going to see going forward as a result. Now, the big thing here, I think, is feedback. And they do bring this up later, and I will harp on it more then. But the fact that there are changes happening due to player, organizer, store feedback is huge for a variety of reasons. Namely, there's a number of things structurally that should be changed within this game. And I've talked about maybe doing some kind of rant videos about them, but we'll get to that topic at the end. More specifics coming up is this time the dates.
What information do we have to share a little bit about that?
Yep. So kind of like we mentioned already, planetary qualifiers begin in October for set 2. And I cannot believe that October is coming up so fast.
Oh, yeah.
So real quick snippet there. The big thing is, so we got the initial release in March, then we have set 2 right now in July. So if you assume the same cadence, and I'm sure they announced a date somewhere, I just couldn't pull it up quickly enough, is that we're probably looking at a set sometime in November. If everything starts October, that's not a whole lot of time. And they do touch on this, that they explicitly wanted something so that you could play with what you know and then also shake things up mid-season, especially because at that point, we're kind of going to be getting long in the tooth as far as set 2 goes. Now, personally, I always hate new metagames. I used to be, I tell the story all the time, but I used to be the deck builder guy. I burnt out on deck building. It's boring. The way these seasons are structured, assuming that continues in the future, is, though, pretty cool because it allows for both player types, player sets to succeed. You have players who prefer, like me, the end of a meta where everything's defined and it's who can outplay other people, who knows the matchups better, more fine-tuning. But then you have the big shakeup with new sets coming out, and it's going to be, hey, who can build the coolest monstrosity? Who can catch somebody by surprise? That sort of thing. So it allows for both player groups to be able to succeed and earn that qualification, earn their points, whatever it happens to be. Just some quick, cool details here.
Planetary qualifier will get an automatic invite to day 2 of the main event at the Galactic Championship, which is really, really cool. And players who win a planetary qualifier can expect a message from us, Fantasy Flight Games, after they win that planetary qualifier with some more information.
That's actually pretty awesome. The invite, which is mentioned, well, they said it, that you get a day 2 invite. That's something very easy to lose, and they do go into more detail to elaborate on it, but that's a lot of buys, especially for an open event. Now, given that the point system will be introduced later on, I'm curious if this will change or not, or will it be if you win one of these qualifiers, you continue to get that buy. Given the limited number of them that are going out, which we'll touch on in a minute, it's kind of interesting here. I could see it going either way, personally, but it's a big deal to get that number of buys. People who played Magic for a long time or any other competitive game are familiar with this concept. For anybody who's not, basically, you don't have to play those days. You automatically jump ahead to whatever the next phase is, in this case, day 2, which, yes, we all love playing this game, but it can be mentally exhausting. You know, after the event finishes, you play 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15 rounds day 1. Maybe you get something to eat. Maybe you go out. That's probably a mistake if you haven't day 2. You do something and then it ends up, I can't fall asleep, and then you're just exhausted for the next day and it's a weaker performance. So having the ability to rest is very important. One of the other cool things is that they're going to be reaching out to players personally who win these events, the planetary qualifiers. I'm interested to see if there's other details. I'd love to see like a travel stipend get introduced, but the quantity of events and the nature of the events, which again, I know I keep saying we'll touch on that later, but we'll come back to that. I don't know that that's going to happen. It would be pretty cool though. I'm not sure what the personal touch is needed for if there isn't something like that, other than just like, hey, here's this cool digital certificate. Like, who cares?
And speaking of the Galactic Championship, that is going to be an open event.
So I could have let this play and just gone through. The open event nature is interesting, and they do talk about this, that it's capacity. However many people sign up, however many people are able to attend. Now, given the timing, I don't know if there are many conventions that would facilitate that. The only one that I could think of is PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. And that's going to be heavily contingent on how long they want the first half versus second half of season 0 to last, which brings up another question: how long is the season supposed to last overall? Seems to be they want to have some level of overlap between the previous set and the new set. But with a points-based system, that may elongate as compared to this one, where it's just kind of we're getting everybody's feet under them, especially to close out the year, and then beginning in 2025, things will fall into place more, we'll say. So here's one of the things that may be a little bit longer for discussion.
Celebration of Star Wars Unlimited.
I've already seen some of the things that people have been brainstorming, and they haven't even asked me what I have, and I have so many ideas. They're not going to let me do all the things that I want to do at this event. But yeah, this is really meant to be an event for anyone and everyone in the community to come and celebrate the game. Whether you're a competitor, whether you're a collector, whether you're just here to play casually, whether you're here to cheer on your friends.
So when I hear that as a competitive player, some red flags go up. And this may be from trauma from the past, where it's other games doing their thing. And as soon as I hear the word celebration, to me, that screams not a highly competitive event. Now, because it's an open event, that was kind of going to be the case anyway. The reason I say that, and this is where things start getting weird. The reason I say that is it's all well and good to have, as you know, have these celebratory events where it's just sign up and play and have fun and do whatever. The issue from a competitive perspective is because this is going to be first come, first serve, presumably, and I don't think they ever said any details of what the sign-up process is going to look like. We've seen across a number of games, including Star Wars Unlimited, where there's just deluges of people swarming things. If all of the slots go to, say, casual players, it's then not a competitive event outside of the few people that were guaranteed a spot due to winning the planetary qualifiers. Is that inherently a problem? No, unless the goal is to have a high-level competitive event. Now, this may change in future seasons because of the point requirements, because of other qualification criteria. It may even, if they left out some details in this video, be different for Season 0. But this is going to impact things of which players are able to get there. Will competitive players camp out the website or however you're supposed to sign up? Sure. Will some of them get in? Absolutely. Will a ton of casual players want to attend? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out and how the community reacts to it. But since it's an open format and the only requirement is, hey, you got to sign up, by definition, that is a less rigorous requirement to play than it would be if you have to qualify through a series or even just a single other event. I'm not trying to pass judgment on whether it should or shouldn't be this at this point in time. I just wanted to point out the difference. And like I said, when I hear the word celebration, I'm curious if that's the intent for all of them for this one because it's Season 0 and it seems to be unique, or is it, what is the story here? I think that matters. So let's talk about the quantity of planetary qualifiers.
Announced that with set 3, we are going to be tripling, and in some cases, in specific regions, quadrupling the number of planetary qualifiers for Star Wars Unlimited, which is...
Now, before I add additional comments, let's get some more context.
Really cool is starting with set 3, we're going to have over 150 planetary qualifiers around the world.
150 is going to be the tripled number. You can work back for how many. Now, if that's worldwide, that's just simply not that many events. Now, I imagine I'm an American. Seems to be a significant European presence as well in this game. We've seen a number of events that were very well attended up to this point in Europe. I presume a lot of them are going to be based in those two regions. However, they're continents, they're very big. Getting to any given event may be a challenge. This is going to be interesting, especially early on, and I understand, and now we have context for why the Galactic Championship is going to be an open sign-up when they just plainly don't have enough events for the early seasons. Notably, the indication here is that it is with set 3 and not a future season. So we're actually going to get an expansion of these mid-season, seemingly, which is pretty cool that we're going to have this explosion already, because we're going to have the initial half of Season 0 and then these additional ones. I'm really hoping that it's not going to be a travel nightmare in order to get to these events, and that it's going to be fighting tooth and nail in order to get into them. This is just going to be a wait and see to how things go. Now, aside from all of the stuff surrounding the actual organized play, we're talking about some of the supplementary systems for this.
Really big thank you to everybody for all of the feedback that you've shared with us, and really, really big thank you to the retailer community for sharing super detailed feedback specifically about the usability of the tool. So we're really, really excited to share that we're working through extensive updates on that, which will be ready prior to the start of the planetary qualifiers or Season 0. We are also really excited to share that we have partnered with a well-known, super trusted TCG software, one that players and retailers are using for their other TCG events every single day. We're just waiting for the contract details to be finalized before we make that official announcement, but you can definitely expect this new software to be ready before Season 0. Our highest priority is making sure that everybody has all of the resources that they need to run these events really successfully.
So this is pretty cool because Tech, talking to a number of organizers, is Tech being the tournament software that if you went to a tournament for the Store Showdown season or up until this point, basically, and up until the point that this new iteration, this new application, I guess it's not an iteration, it's going to probably be a complete revamp, releases, that's what your organizer would have been using in order to set up the pairings. I talked to every single tournament organizer that I went to an event for, and every single one said it was horrendous. Now, I don't think I've ever talked to a tournament organizer who ever had anything nice to say about the tournament software for any game. And I've run a number of events myself, and I usually have the same complaints. It's one of those things that no matter what, if it's good, if it's bad, there's always some frustration that comes up and seems to consistently be a problem, because invariably, whatever that quote-unquote edge case scenario is, that happens every event all the time, and it's insane. However, Tech seems to be the latest in the string where people hate it, to the point where I've talked to some people who are using other game software in order to run the events, even though they couldn't submit it to Fantasy Flight as a result, because it was just way smoother to run the event. This is we will wait and see. I'll believe it when we see it, and the reason I bring up that other software also has problems is, while we're hearing that this is a great and trusted vendor, as I said, I've never talked to a tournament organizer for any game, and I played literally dozens. None of them have ever had anything good to say about it. So we'll see. We'll see. We do also have some news about the judge program.
To share that we are partnering with a really well-known TCG company called Cascade Games, who are going to be creating the judge program. So if you are interested in learning more about the judge program and are interested in registering for that judge program, you can head over to cascadegames.com, and we will pop a link to that specific Star Wars Unlimited page.
Link.
Yeah.
So this was a live stream, so it's good to know that there is a judge program coming. Obviously, as with the tournament software, we just want everything in time for Season 0 so that everybody can have appropriate judges. There's still very simple rulings that come up because there's new people coming into Star Wars Unlimited every day. Yes, the game is still growing. I see tons of new faces at all of my locals personally. And it is very important to have a judge as the third-party person to point to in a game. So let's talk about tournament rules.
Just that as a general idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So the source of truth for all of our tournament rules is this tournament regulations document, which again is listed on our website. And really the purpose of this document is to make sure that all of our tournaments are welcoming, fair, and safe for everybody who's participating in these competitive level events. So we will publish updates to that infrequently. You know, this is a living document as it's going to kind of grow and change with our community and how our community feels. But again, it won't be super often because we do recognize that we need stability during a competitive game season. We don't want to be throwing too many changes in there that'll throw a bad loop for everybody.
Change for change's sake is bad, but change when you're improving the process based on feedback, good.
Very good. Very, very.
So the last comment is important, but we'll come back to that. I want to start with some of the earlier ones, specifically that they're not going to be making changes frequently, or as stated, they will make them infrequently. So basically, the way I'm interpreting it is as needed. This is important, and they do highlight some of the changes later on that they made that were kind of minor, about sleeves and playmats again, and that it's now officially in the document and all that kind of stuff. And that's all well and good. I think the biggest thing is actually this next piece.
please let us know. Please let your friendly local game store know. Everything that we can do and all of this feedback is super helpful for us as we try to build this really strong organized play program.
That is still at the, I didn't jump very far ahead. That is the tail end of the same discussion about the rules and the documents associated with it. And I think the biggest thing here and why I want to harp on it is that there are a huge, well, not huge number. There's specifically 3 things that personally drive me insane for Star Wars Unlimited from a tournament structure perspective. So spoiler alert for a video I may end up making or not making. I keep going back and forth because it is just kind of a tirade thing and I don't want to just rant and rave, but I feel as though it needs to be said. The 3 biggest things for me, organized play-wise, structure-wise, tournament-wise, even local event-wise, because these all fall under the same thing. There are 3 rules. The uneven cut rule, rules surrounding ties, and tracking damage on the base. All 3 of these present a ton of problems that are at all levels from beginning player to expert player and the interaction between all of the levels between those ends. And they're all negative. I understand, or at least I think I understand, the driving force behind each of these. And it's crap. That's the bottom line. I understand what drove, allegedly, Fantasy Flight to push for these things. And I think they ended up creating a worse scenario for literally everyone involved by doing each of these things. Now, 2 of them, specifically the uneven cut rule, again, I've talked to multiple organizers, and this is just plain insanity. Why are we breaking something with over 100 years of precedent? Because the Swiss pairing system originally came from chess. And you can go look it up of when it was invented. Please, just Google it. There's a reason that things have evolved the way they have and have been doing card games for 30 years, over 30 years competitively with a particular format. Now, I will say, I'm not saying, oh, it's tradition. This is the way it has to be and will forever be that way. I'm all fine with people reimagining things and updating things and changing them to adapt them to be more appropriate. That makes sense. But I feel we are absolutely setting ourselves back as a game community, as a organized play setup, as a game, utilizing the uneven cut rule. The tie rule is another one that is just, to me, it's asinine and actively hurts newer players at local events. And when you're talking for larger events, it incentivizes worse behavior than what they're trying to solve. And again, I could do a larger video on these. And then the third one that irks me is regarding tracking damage on base. It 100% should always be on paper. Full stop. If you want to do something else, that should be the bonus, not the other way around. I could elaborate on it if you want to hear about it, let me know. But the reason I harp on all of these is because of what they just said. They're indicating that they are willing to accept feedback and have made changes on a number of fronts due to the feedback from a whole different slew of parties. If you don't like these rules, they're going to have a presence at Gen Con. They apparently are accepting feedback in whatever form. I'm not sure exactly because they didn't indicate it as far as I know. But be noisy about it because these things should change. It is negatively impacting the game on a number of levels. Data is not the plural of anecdote. But I have yet to go to an event where any of these things impacted someone and they felt better than if it was the alternative.
Absolutely. So a couple of really specific changes are the top cut round has been extended to 75 minutes. Deck lists are no longer exchanged for the entire competitive event, just that top cut round. And tiebreakers have been added for single elimination play. And then, artwork. I was like, it's my favorite one.
Love their playmat.
It's my favorite one. It's the one that I'm the most excited about. So yes, artwork of all kinds are now welcome as long as it's deemed appropriate by the judge and that specific event. This does exclude feature matches, but again, for most people, you can bring your artwork, you can bring your cool sleeves, everything like that, which is really great. Yeah.
So this is just elaboration on the things I highlighted before. Again, these are all great. These are things people wanted. These are things that are valuable to have changed in the rules. However, I think the highlighted 3 rules, again, uneven cut, the tie system, or but to be honest, the lack thereof, and then tracking damage on the base, all of those to me are significantly higher priority than this, any of these. So, although we have San Diego Comic-Con coming up, there's also going to be a presence at Gen Con, including an in-flight report from Fantasy Flight at the event.
For this, but there are still tickets for one of the major events for us at Gen Con, which is the in-flight report. So if you're someone who has not picked up your in-flight report tickets yet,
You're gonna want to.
You're gonna want to be there.
You're gonna want to see this.
Yeah, there's some really fun stuff we have to share about where that studio is heading, as well as Star Wars Unlimited specifically.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting because we'll see what information they decide to reveal. Now that we've gotten at least the broad strokes and structure of organized play, I was kind of expecting this to be announced at Gen Con. So I'm hoping we get more explicit details. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an official announcement date for set 3 or, some particular reveals, because that's what companies do now, is as soon as one product releases, they're already previewing the next. But maybe there'll be something else exciting there. So those are my initial thoughts on the video. This kind of went longer because I had mapped out a bunch of different ways I wanted to do it. And I said, you know what, it's probably best to just have their clip and then talk about it. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments, because there's a lot of things to digest here. Is this what you were hoping for? Did you want something else? Or is this somewhere in the middle? But that's going to do it for this time. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time for more Random's Thoughts.